Hey guys, it's Upa here. So they've just announced the new hero and its details, and let's open it up in this bigger picture here. So the quality may not be the best, but unfortunately they don't really upload those like super high-res images of the details, so hopefully you guys can see it. Otherwise, don't worry, I'll of course read out as I go along. So we have this new character Bill over here. Pretty funny when we saw it, this hero name in the announcements, the weekly announcements over here. I mean, compared to all the other heroes in the game, Bill is kind of like a standard name, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So it's a legendary hero, of course, in Wizard's Eye faction, support type, and green mark. So as always, usually with this kind of videos, I like to check out what is available within that faction itself, because I like when they strengthen factions which are not very strong. And in this case, Wizard's faction is, I would say it's pretty decent. They have some strong characters like Lydia Space, who's decent at an earlier stage. Melchior is also decent as well. And then we have Freud as well. So several strong characters. And it seems that this character Bill is a support type, which maybe this faction is lacking. Ideally, you would want maybe a stronger damage dealer for this faction, because you don't really have that here. But yeah, I mean, of course, any new character in a faction which is an extremely strong Wizard's Eye, I would say is about average in terms of strength, is nice. So a good choice for a new character. And here's how the character looks. So pretty interesting. It's like some kind of animal controlling a mech. So I think this is a nice, unique design. You know, it doesn't always have to be human. So yeah, let's take a look at the skills. So it's an internal injury character, as you can see. And the basic attack, Electrophoresis, deals regular attack damage and 180% internal injury damage to a single enemy. Meanwhile, inflicts numbness on them for 2 turns. Okay, so I think we'll find out what numbness does later. And then next, this is his skill 2. Skill 2 deals 4 stages of damage to enemies, each of which deals 140% internal injury damage to a random enemy, prioritizing attacking different enemies, and removes 2 layers of random buffs from the target, and inflicts numbness on them for 2 turns. So once again, this inflicts numbness on basically all enemies, up to 4 different enemies it seems, and removes 2 layers of random buffs. So this seems like it's going to be very strong, particularly this removal of 2 layers of random buffs, and we'll see once again soon what this numbness does as well. This is his passive, Ultra Long Battery Life. So at the beginning of each wave, increases self-turn meter by 30%, so very similar to a character like Space. When an ally deals internal injury damage, self gains 1 layer of electricity, and this effect can only be triggered once in anyone's turn. When self has 20 layers of electricity, acts 1 extra turn and replaces High Voltage Electrical Shock with Super Electric Strike. So you can see the 2 skills below here. It seems like he basically has 2 variants of his skill 4, and when he has 20 layers of electricity, he gets to use the stronger version. Afterward, refresh the cooldown of Super Electric Strike. Alright, so let's see what his 2 different skill 4 does. So the base one does, it's called High Voltage Electrical Shock, and the base one grants all allies Resolute 2, so this is just a skill damage up by 40%. And afterwards deals 320% attack internal injury damage to all enemies and inflicts numbness on them. And finally, Super Electric Strike. Grants all allies overlapping waves 2 and Resolute 2 for 2 turns. Afterwards, deals 320% internal injury damage to all enemies and reduce their turn meter by 24%. So this turn meter part is going to be really impactful. If the target has numbness, so this is where all the earlier numbness effects applies. If the target has numbness, consumes their numbness and additionally reduces their turn meter by 36%. So this is really crazy. If the enemy has numbness, which is very easy to do according to his Electrophoresis and Persistent Current effects, because you don't even need effect hit, because it says guaranteed chance to inflict numbness, right? It doesn't say there's a chance. Same with this Persistent Current, so it's going to be very easy to inflict this numbness. And when the enemy does have it, it reduces their turn meter by, this is 60%, 36 plus 24, so that's really, really strong. And then, meanwhile, reduces their max HP by 15% for 2 turns. This is really strong as well. After casting Super Electric Strike, which is the skill itself, remove all of Bill's electricity and replaces Super Electric Strike with High Voltage Electric Shock. So basically, once you use this skill, it just reverts back to the old one. So I'm curious what Overlapping Waves 2 does, and so far I don't see anywhere here what that does exactly. Okay, so I did a quick check, and this overlapping waves 2 is actually the ripple buff over here. So let me just show you guys what that is. I believe you can see it. There's a way to see all the different skills in the game, but okay, never mind. Ripple 2 is basic attack. It's a buff to your basic attack damage by 40%. So yeah, I'm not really sure why this this effect name is so unique, overlapping waves 2, but yeah, once again, it's essentially Ripple 2, which increases your basic attack damage by 40%, and since this is a different name than Ripple 2, I'm assuming if it's not some form of translation or error or something, then this is going to be one of those purple buffs, which means that it cannot be removed by enemy clans or so on. So yeah, granting your team Ripple 2 essentially going to be very strong. And now let's take a look at his exclusives. So each time Bill gains electricity, and once again this is from his passive over here, where every time an ally does internal injury damage, which should include himself, he gains 1 layer of electricity. So every time Bill gains electricity, increases his turn meter by 2% and other allies' turn meter by 1%. So these values may look low, but if you are running a full internal injury team, for instance, this means that every time your entire team takes a turn each, that's going to be 10% for Bill himself and 5% for all your ally turn meters, and this is going to just accumulate over time, So this is really definitely going to be very strong. And when an ally turn ends, Bill will cast Electrophoresis to pursue and attack a random enemy with numbness once. So Electrophoresis is a basic attack, and not only does he just pursue an attack with this, he will grant himself this overlapping waves 2, which will buff his basic attack damage. So I can see some potential for his damage to be pretty decent. So next, at the beginning of each wave, if Bill has the highest speed among all allies, inflict numbness on all enemies for 2 turns. Okay, interesting. Numbness, once again, doesn't actually do anything aside from the fact that it's used in this skill over here, right? If the enemy has numbness. So I guess, to me, this doesn't seem like that crazy, this effect, but maybe some of the later exclusives will make more use of it. So next, High Voltage Electrical Shock and Super Electric Strike grants all allies speed up 2 for 2 turns, so very nice utility as well. He does a lot of turn meter stuff, not just for himself, but decreases enemy turn meter as well, and buffs and gives your team even more turn meter on his exclusive one. So very speed and turn meter related hero, which is always a very good mechanic to have on a character. And next, exclusive 3, at the beginning of each wave, replaces High Voltage Electrical Shock with Super Electric Strike, so he starts with his stronger special 4, and refreshes the cooldown of Super Electric Strike. If 5 allies with the internal injury tag are deployed after Bill casts Super Electric Strike, this skill will not be replaced by High Voltage Electrical Shock anymore. Besides, inflicts numbness on all enemies for 2 turns. Okay, so the combination of his exclusive 2 and exclusive 3 is really strong. So just now we were wondering why this inflicts numbness on all enemies for 2 turns on start of wave is useful, and now we know why, because when you have him at exclusive 3, what's going to happen is at the start of each wave, he will inflict numbness, and then because he also has access to this stronger special 4 immediately, because the target has numbness, he can then reduce enemy turn meter by 60%. So this is going to be really strong, and I think there's actually a lot of potential here in PvP content as well, not just PvE. Reducing turn meter is always going to be a very strong effect when it comes to PvP content, and what's his name? Bill is going to do this extremely easily with his exclusive 2 and 3. Additionally, when he has 5 allies with internal injury, he basically keeps this special 4 skill at all times, which is even more crazy to me, because look at all the text here. He's going to constantly reduce the enemy's turn meter. He's going to give himself the basic, or the whole team, the basic attack damage up, which is especially strong for him because of his pursue and attacks, and he also does the HP deduction as well. So yeah, his kit is pretty straightforward, I would say, and just because it's straightforward doesn't mean it's weak. In fact, I think this is going to be a really strong character. So my only question is, when it comes to content such as 7 Sages of Luli, I don't feel like there's a spot for him on the team. So right now, people are running like Dianmu Indra, Murongjing, and then something like Tyrell, and then the last slot is something like Kratos, Shaorin, or Jubei, which you need for Sylvia Wound, right? So I'm not really sure where Bill lies in that team, because you need basically all the characters in that team to survive in 7 Sages of Luli. So Stealth from Rongjing, you need Tyrell for the deep internal injury and just damage. You need Shaorin / Jubei / Kratos for severe wound. And then Diemu Indra, I mean, they're going to do so much damage that Bill definitely, I really doubt will replace any character there, right? And in fact, we just had Felicia, who's also an internal injury character, and I mean, she does decent damage, not amazing, but regardless, she couldn't find a slot in that team. So I don't really think Bill is going to be able to find a slot in that team specifically either. However, there's still many other areas of content, like Planar Rifts, maybe he'll find more use, or, well, I believe there's actually a dev update which was mentioned, which I'll cover in another video, but they did mention that there's going to be expansion to things like Planar Rift and 7 Sages, so maybe he'll find his own niche in those areas of content. But just because he's not being used there, because when I talk about those teams, I'm specifically talking about the really late game teams, the meta teams. This character, like for the average player and even the stronger players, is definitely going to be really strong. I think he has a lot of potential in PvP especially. He doesn't seem to fit, in any team specifically, besides from a full internal injury team over here, but I'm not really sure if there's gonna be some sort of full internal injury team meta in PvP. So far, it doesn't seem like it to me, but regardless, if you find a way to slot him, and with his exclusive 2 and 3, like I said, at start of wave, he reduces enemy turn meter by 60%, that's gonna be really, really strong. So yeah, I think this character has a lot of potential. I think he's gonna be, I'm not sure if he's going to be like used in the current PvP, 3v3 teams, because there's very little room for new characters because the teams there are pretty optimized already. But if you don't have, the exact characters needed for all the meta teams, this is just going to be, in general, a very strong character for PvP, and of course, a very strong character for PvE as well. And I mean, that's not a surprise since this is a new character after all. So yeah, I think he's going to be really good. Once again, I think I like that he has a very unique design, and yeah, I think it's a cool character. But whether I'm going to summon for him, I'm not going to personally, because as I mentioned several times, I'm basically safe only for limited time heroes, and Bill is not one of those characters. So yeah, that's all we have for today, and we will find out his Echo and what it does on Thursday, and maybe I'll make a separate video for that when we find out. But yeah, let me know what you think of this character in the comments. I think he's going to be really strong, but maybe not something which is hard meta, and maybe we will find proper use for him when we get new content in the future. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. So that's all we have for today, and I'll see you guys next time.